Just everybody with quick photo here. All right, Dan's got the contract here. We'll get that out of the way first. Back, there you go. That's it.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Just wanted to acknowledge a few people real quick before we start. Jacob's parents, Jack and Julie, his wife Logan, Paige Odell, Dave Matrenga, Jeremy Shield from PSI, who worked for the last couple months with Dan on getting this done. Thank you for your partnership. And thank you to everybody for coming out today. Very excited to be back here. It was about a month ago. We had a similar event, and I said it was nice to have our first real baseball event here in Las Vegas. And I was hopeful we'd be back here for another one this quickly, but very excited that we got it done and locked Jacob up for at least the next 7, hopefully 8 years. This one feels like a real sort of organizational achievement. It wasn't that long ago that we were having lunch with Jacob and his family after he was drafted. I was talking to Jack when we were out at the construction site saying, we just did that. We just spent time with the family. And Jacob, as a tribute to Jacob, he really sort of set the timeline here for players in the A's organization, getting to the big leagues as quickly as he did. And we spent a lot of time talking about how it was it just under a year after you were drafted that he was playing in the big leagues and really, like I said, opened the door for a lot of guys coming behind him to be drafted, get here and show how quickly we can turn this team over and turn it into a team that we feel is ready to compete, ready to be a playoff team again, and certainly as we head towards 2028 in Las Vegas, be a team that's ready to win. So I'm excited to have this to announce. I'm excited for everything that's coming behind Jacob, the team that he and a number of other players are going to lead, over the next decade of A's baseball. So with that, I think we'll open it up to questions and hear from our guest of honor.
Congrats, Jacob, on the extension. I guess what went to you, your decision to do this now as opposed to maybe wait a little bit, and how much did maybe seeing your teammates sign extensions kind of influence you want to get something done early as opposed to maybe wait a couple of years?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to the teammates that you have in the locker room, the guys that you share the field with. I think that we have a very special knit group here that goes to work every day, and we all love hang out with each other and being able to share the field. So I think that for me, it made it an easier decision to be able to go out there knowing that I get to share the field with those guys for the next 7 to 8 years. And, love those guys, love going to work with them every day. And it's going to be, I think we have a special squad that's going to do great things here in the future.
You kind of started this whole journey for you pretty quick with getting drafted a couple years ago, an all-star last year, to get married this offseason, the rest of that, and then the extension now, these last few years, just kind of describe everything that's happened in the program.
Yeah, it's amazing. I definitely have a lot of thank yous, that go out to many different people. This is not possible, without everybody who's in my corner that supports me. And, like I said, I just love being a part of this organization. Ever since I got drafted, I've been treated, very good by, everybody who's, representative from the front office, the coaches, the teammates. Every step of the way, I've had, great people who have helped me along the way. And, just, like I said, a lot of thank yous go out to them.
I know you got to see the stadium a little bit today, tour it. It's like autographed on the plate. What was that like, just kind of seeing that, knowing that it's on the horizon just a couple years away, that you get to playing on Las Vegas Strip in a brand new building like that?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's definitely something that, we're talking about walking around in 2 years, being able to see it, where it was today versus where it's going to be in 2 years. It's just going to be something that, it's super special, that I get to be able to be a part of this. And like I said, be a part of this team that's, headed into this transition. And, it's going to be, we're super excited to see it, fully finished. And I think that today we already saw how far it's come since they started. I think it was sometime last year, and it's a little glimpse of what we're going to be able to play in the future.
Jacob, obviously a bunch of young players assigned come back to last offseason. Do you think that those momentum get veterans to maybe take the week to sign as well?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of good veterans in our clubhouse right now. With Rooker, Langoliers, guys who are leaders of our clubhouse, and we got McNeil this offseason that we're super excited to have. I'm really excited to learn from him. It's a guy who's been playing for a lot of years now. He's been very successful, and being able to have another leader come to our clubhouse is something that us younger guys are super grateful to have. I think that without those guys, we had a lot of guys last year debut in kind of their first seasons, and being able to lean on those veteran guys is something that's huge for the rookies, and we're excited to go into year 2, 3 now for some guys, and just being able to learn from the guys that we brought in, and we're excited to go back to work.
Jacob, this is obviously a time for the organization to lock in a lot of core players. For you, is there a specific moment or time where you realized what you guys have cooking up in this organization at the major league level is something special?
Yeah, I think it was the first year that I got called up back in 24, where we were, the second half we played really well, played really good baseball, and it was just, for me, coming up as a rookie for the first time, seeing how the guys went about their business and went to work every day, really wanting to win. That was something that was really eye-opening to me, to see how much these guys wanted to win. And then we had a couple of guys obviously debut last year. We had overall a very young team, and just being able to learn from last year on the entire year as a whole, and being able to go into, like I said, year 2 for some guys, year 3, and we're still a very young team. I think that we had a lot of learning lessons last year, and I think we took that in the offseason this year to be able to grow as a team and come back into spring training here in a couple of weeks, and be able to go into the year with very positive thoughts and very holding our heads high.
Jacob, I think a lot of baseball fans loved the All-Star game, the moment you shared with your dad. It was just so special. Can you share a little bit about having that pedigree, having somebody to look up to who's your father? How much did that help get you just rolling as a rookie to have so much success so early on?
Yeah, it's definitely something that you need in a dad and a coach in life, being able to when I first got there, not really I was young, and I was just being able to learn kind of the big leagues for the first time, and obviously having him in my corner that I can call pretty much any day, and just talk about the at-bats or talk about the game, and he's always been very positive with me. In baseball, it's based around a lot of negativity. You get out 7 out of 10 times, you're a really good baseball player. So he's done a great job of being able to keep me positive, after bad games, and being able to talk to him and just be able to learn, hey, what do you got for me today? What do you see? And just be able to have those conversations, something that's very huge for me.
And what about just, I think the excitement of having you and then your shirts battling it out for Rookie of the Year, and just what was it like being in the dugout and just hanging out with a guy like that? Did you guys have competition, or in terms of just the fanfare of all that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was never really a competition thing with us. I remember talking, in the middle of the year, obviously being able to watch him do his thing. We had conversations like, all right, we just need to get this thing, this award in the A's clubhouse. That as long as the A gets it, it's going to be something that is super awesome for us and the organization. Obviously, with the two most recent draft picks, being able to go up there and battling it out, and obviously it was truly incredible to see him go about his work and just see him transition from the guy who's in college last year to seeing what he did last year is not something that you ever see in this game. So it was like I said, very eye-opening to just be able to be on the same team as him, watch kind of him do his thing every day, and it was it's also a very good friend of mine, so it's gonna be awesome to be able to share the field with him for multiple years to come.
Jacob, any good stories to tell from your time in Vegas prior to this? I mean, you played here in the minor leagues with
Yeah.
Grant Reardon. He's brought a bunch of you guys up to the big leagues. What was that like playing in Vegas before the ballpark and experiences here in the city? It's not going to be anything new to you when you come into LA.
No, it was amazing. That our AAA ballpark is one of the best that we have, in minor league baseball. It's an awesome field. With a great fan base. I know a big thing is the nights during the national anthem. I still think about that every time we hear it, and I'm sure it will continue once we get here in a couple of years. But you can just tell the fans loved us when I was playing here. The fans are very passionate about their sports. I've been to a couple nights games. I've seen how their fan base works for them too, and it's been awesome. And it's exciting for us to be able to see that, knowing that we're coming into a city that is very, they have a lot of sports fans, and they're very passionate about their teams. And like I said, we're just excited to be able to be here in a couple of years.
Any sort of magic that Fran has to get all you guys up the big league?
Yeah, he was a great coach. He was very helpful to all of us, just to be able to talk to us. Obviously, for guys who just got the AAA or just leaving, he was a great guy to be able to transition from AA to the big leagues. He was the guy that really did a great job doing that.
Anybody else? For David, over the past year, I think it's three 7-year contract extensions now, and Rooker 5 years. You kind of said this on the social press conference, but what do you think kind of it says organizationally about where you guys are now as opposed to maybe just 5 years ago when it was obviously a different situation, and now having the ballpark kind of on the horizon, and maybe doing business a little differently than it has in the past?
Look, I think it's pretty obvious that this place, this center, that construction site out there is allowing us to operate differently than we ever have. As long as we were in Oakland, we always talked about wanting to keep the team together. We put together some really good teams. We had some good 3-year windows, 3-year playoff runs, but this place is allowing us to operate differently. And that started with Brent and Law last year. It's now come to Jacob and Tyler this year. We still have hopes of doing more of these and keeping guys in an A's uniform for as long as possible. So whether we're trying to attract free agents, whether we're trying to keep guys in this uniform, being headed towards Las Vegas has been the difference maker for us, absolutely.
David, can you just elaborate on just your comment about allowing the team to operate differently, being in Las Vegas and having the new stadium? Do you use the stadium as a lure to try to tell players down the road, this is the kind of facility we'll have?
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to publicize the renderings and what it's going to look like as much as possible. And look, having Jacob, having Tyler walk the site, getting those pictures out there, letting them spread the word of what it looks like is obviously a huge help. But just knowing that we are headed for a new facility, headed for just a new way of operating, new revenue stream, new city, all these things are what those of us who've been here for a long time have been waiting for. And again, it allows us to keep a winning group together. That's what we think we have now, is a winning core of players. The 4 we've signed, a number of the other guys, we have a huge group of young pitching prospects coming. I'm as excited about the organization and our system, our talent, as I've been in a long time. And if being here, if being in that ballpark helps us keep it all together for a long time, that was all of our goal from the start.
Anybody else?